So I'd like to begin the chat with Mona first. Mona, Royal Caribbean International had a big part to play in the resumption of cruise tourism during the immediate days after Singapore's pandemic lockdown. And I know Spectrum of the Seas, home ported in Singapore, gave many residents a chance to give cruises a first-time try, and it won over many people who never had cruises in mind before. But that was already 3 years ago. We have really moved on since, and travel freedom is back. Now, will you take us through what's happening with Royal Caribbean, especially its deployment here in Asia now and the year ahead?
Yes, thank you, Karen. Yes, indeed, travel is back as more borders are open now, and it spurred a lot of demand, both for tourism receipts in different countries as well as the cruises here in Singapore and in Asia. So in Asia, it's going to be a very exciting time for us because Spectrum of the Seas, the amazing Spectrum of the Seas, is in Singapore ever since 2022 last year. And she's been doing a year-round deployment for the first time in Singapore. We have over 90 sailings in Singapore for a full year deployment. And in Singapore, Spectrum of the Seas is offering 3 nights cruise to Penang, 4 nights cruise to Penang and Phuket. And we do have some long sailings. We have included the very popular Japanese ports of call. So we are doing 12 nights to Japan from Singapore. As we're speaking, the ship is actually on route 12 nights to Yokohama right now. And then on 1st October to 13th October, she's going to do a turnaround from Yokohama back to Singapore. So that had proved very, very popular, and it was fully booked out way in advance. And we had guests from all over the world, from the UK, from the US, all our Asian region, and Australia as well. So we do see the demand picking up really well. We also have the 9 nights to Vietnam and Thailand next year in January and February. So because we get a lot of feedback from our clients that they want to see. They want to be on our ship longer, and they want to see more different variation of ports of calls. So in Singapore, we will continue to have Spectrum from now to April next year, and we're going to add a new ship next year in 2024. So Asia will have 2 ships, and each of this, it will be Anthem of the Seas, by the way, coming to Singapore, and we will be redeploying Spectrum back to China in April, and she'll do an 8-night repositioning cruise from Singapore to Shanghai. So in Singapore, the Anthem will continue with the popular 3 nights and 4 nights cruises, but we're adding some new itineraries. For example, we have the 8-nighters to Bali, which is highly popular among Singaporeans and Asians, as well as the 10 nights that includes Thailand and Vietnam, and a 1-night stop in Bangkok. So so it's an exciting time for us. We're going to have 2 ships in Asia, so you can imagine, and we're going to feel the demand for it. So thank you.
That's quite reflective of how important Asia is for the company, I mean, to place 2 ships in the region and to have so many different varieties of sailing programs around the region.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we'll speak about it more with the Icon, but we are still building 2 big new ships that's going to be launched next year. So a lot of exciting times, not only in Asia, but also globally.
Great. So now you mentioned Icon, so let's talk about your latest baby, the Icon, and it's big news there. So tell us about it.
Okay, before we start on Icon, the amazing Icon, I would like to share a short snippet video so that you guys get a little insight about it. It's just 38 minutes, so do bear with us. But
38 seconds.
38 seconds, sorry, 38 seconds, and you get a glimpse of it. So, but before I start, Icon, just to share everyone, it's a new class ship that we have in our fleet. We have 26 at the moment, but in 2024 we'll have 28 ships. And Icon is 1 class above the Oasis class. Right now, Oasis class is the largest. It takes about 5,200 twin sharing double occupancy. But the Icon, she can go up to 7,000 people if you maxed out the triple import sharing. So she's an amazing ship.
Oh, that's stunning.
Yeah. Tom says it makes you feel 20 years younger. So that's a groundbreaking Icon of the Seas, and we're very proud and very excited because she's going to be launched in January next year already. And the bookings are coming in since a year ago, and it's filling up really fast. So we're really excited. And what's so amazing about Icon is that she has 8 neighborhoods aboard the ship. So for example, we have a Central Park, just like a Central Park in New York. And then right in the middle of the plants and forests, you have this glass-domed bar that levitates up to the top of the ship and slowly levitates back down to the Central Park. So for MindScripts, you can actually do a buyout for a private event in one of the neighborhoods. We have 8 of them. So it's really something, a really unique experience. And I know a lot of Minds groups always seeking unique venues, something different in terms of experience and stuff like that. And you know, the Icon, for example, is one great venue option for them to select. So yeah.
Sounds very promising. Now, Frankie, I know you have a lot of experience with selling cruises and also for cruises for corporate groups. So, from your experience, what sort of appeal would you say cruises hold for corporate groups and business events? What sort of appeal?
Well, thank you very much, Karen, for this question. Let me get back before the pandemic situation where every corporate companies and every direct company have their own annual schedules, meetings, and all those of the events. When we get to the pandemic, we news that the airfare ticket was priced top to the peak, and after the pre-pandemic, like second quarter this year, every airfare is like getting into the norm, but not 100% for sure. But the land tours, the transportation, the accommodation slightly going up, impact of the inflation and other things. And at the same time, like cruise ships coming with this very good timing, they're offering a lot of promotions, package benefits. And I think that the budget from the corporate company has happened before the pandemic. They get to it because the cruise ships offers affordable prices. A lot of very many packages like Caribbean has. So I think that in terms of the futures of the cruise ship itself, like spec of the quarter of seas and Baby Giant, maybe the next one, the Icon of the Seas. Yes, Kara, I think that the cruise ship is like a one-stop shopping for us. Right? We can let them arrange everything on one ship and then we can realize it. Yeah.
Good point about it being affordable. I mean, it's getting more and more expensive now to travel. The airfares are crazy, right? So you could go on a single cruise and you could see several destinations at one time. Frankie, can you also talk us through, one of the most memorable business events that you arranged on a cruise?
Well, 2009, as I remember, at that time, Costa Rica. I'm sorry, it's not Royal Caribbean. Costa Rica was the first time coming from southeast, from south part from Italy, coming to Makassar and port of Surabaya. And arranged one of events, corporate events, meeting in Costa Rica. At that time, Costa has like very unique ships coming from the Europeans, very authentic European style, typically Italian feelings and the meeting rooms. So there's not yet any specific arrangement in the cruise ship, like we're having the meetings over there. But that's for the onboard. And when the offshore, we do the live meetings. We held in Surabaya at that time. We held for the live meetings in the rice field. But for sure, we do the sub-station and making the aircon, everything, making property for the meetings. So we get not only from the onboard, but of course for the offshore. Some special unique events will make them more memorable at that time. Well, that's the last, the event, the Costa Rica, as I remember, that's the first time they're sailing from the South Italian coast to the Asia.
So there's the option of combining an exciting and interesting shore experience also for the corporate groups.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, now Tom, you have delivered many meetings on cruises as well over the years. What would you say are the pros and cons of MICE cruises?
First of all, thank you, Lynette, and your team for putting this all together. Karen, thank you. And thank you for your interest, ladies and gentlemen. I have to start off by saying I'm not familiar with the weather that you have here in Bangkok. It never rains in Southern California. So when I see the rains come down, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I stay inside. But it's beautiful to see all the rain. I think when you look at cruises, let's start with the pros. First of all, I'd like to use the expression that it's one-stop shopping. When you book a cruise like Royal Caribbean, and by the way, I think it's very important for you, if you don't know the cruise market, use a cruise travel agent like Worldwide, because they're so experienced and they can place you on the right ship and certainly within the right size. I think that's very important. So it's one-stop shopping. Once you get your attendees to the destination of the port and they get aboard the ship, everything is basically taken care of. The rooms, the restaurants, the activities, the port of calls, etc. And as the video said earlier, I really do think there is a substantial cost savings. We find that when we do a land-based program in a resort versus a cruise, it's probably about 25 to 35% more expensive in a hotel or resort than it would be on a cruise ship. So if budget is a concern, definitely consider cruises. I think on the downside, there are just a couple of things. Number one, you have people who have never been on a cruise. In the United States, and this is an amazing statistic, only 15%, 15% of the population in the United States has ever been on a cruise ship. So, by the way, the potential looking ahead is incredible for the cruise market. So when you have only 15% of the population that's never been on a cruise ship, you have to ask yourself why. And we have found in surveys that we've done, and we do about 2 cruises out of 35 programs every year in the United States. We found that there are 2 primary reasons. Number one, you have a number of people that can't swim. I won't take a survey here, but there are a lot of people that are afraid of the water. And anybody who has seen the movie Titanic is scared of a cruise, especially if you can't swim. The second thing that Frankie and I were talking about earlier is there are a number of people who are afraid that they're going to get stuck on a cruise ship for 30 to 60 days because of COVID. Well, I think that issue is pretty much taken care of now, but there is that scare. I think another negative is that you have people that say, am I going to be stuck on a ship for 5 or 7 days? And the answer is no. So you really have to sell them on the port of calls and the different activities that happen on a cruise ship. I will tell you that, last point, that the customer satisfaction results that we have from our corporate clients, whether it's 3M or Apple or Google, they will tell you that cruising is a memorable experience. And people, and you saw that in the last video that Mona just shared with you, the younger generation wants an experience. They want an adventure. And cruises really do give them a great experience and adventure.
Good points there, Tom. Now, after considering the cons of cruises and the concerns that people have, do you still feel that cruises are an easy sell to your corporate clients?
I think it depends on the client. As I mentioned a moment ago, we have clients. I have one particular client. She's the vice president of a Fortune 10 company, you would all. know the name of it. Many of you are using their products, taking pictures up here. I can't say their name because of our non-disclosure agreements. But I will tell you, she has a fear of water. And she does not want to bring her retail incentive group on a ship. Now, so she doesn't go on the ship. We have done programs with them, but she doesn't go. So that's something that you just deal with. I think overall, though, most people that do go on cruises have a great experience, and I think they can't wait to get back. It's interesting, one other statistic, of the 15% that I talked about a moment ago that have been on cruise ships, 7 to 8% of those have been on cruises in the last 2.5 to 3 years. So that tells me that people are excited about cruises, they want to go, and it makes it for an easier sell.
Okay, good point. Now, Frankie, the question for you. What considerations should companies make when deciding whether or not a cruise is appropriate for their events?
Well, I think it depends on what the corporate company wants to do in the cruise ship itself. Let's say they want to launch a new product. I think the cruise ship would be very good ships to do that. And I think that in terms like the short 4 to 5 days cruising will be enough. Not to be too long for Asian market. Yeah.
So it's the purpose of the event and the duration. Should they also consider, like the venues available on the cruise ship?
Yeah, we were talking about the cost, and then that it depends on the call of the call itself. So let's say that Royal Caribbean starting from Bali, I think the cost will be a little bit lower than the others starting from Singapore itself.
Okay. Mona, what forms of support does Royal Caribbean provide to corporate clients who are considering an event abroad?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a great question. It's so easy, and like Tom explained and Frankie, to organize your minds groups on board our ships or any one of the cruise ships. Number one, it's a one turnkey solution. As an organizer, I can understand, right? If you have a minds group that's 150 packs, 100, a few hundreds, a few thousand, or even a full charter, the logistic nightmare, right? I mean, where are you going to find a restaurant on land to feed a few hundred to a few thousands of people? And then you have to bus them around, and how to accommodate all of them? No way in one hotel, right? You probably have to put them in several hotels. And that's a lot of waste of time, effort, and also money. Like Tom said, and also Frankie, it's very economical. We did a study in the US, and if you were to do something like that on land, not that I'm against the land option, but if you do, it's going to cost you easily 30% more. And as we all know, as we come out of COVID, everything is very expensive globally. I mean, in Singapore, the hotel accommodations have gone up, the airline seats have pricing has gone up. Everything, even the restaurants are more expensive now. So on board a ship, on a cruise ship, it's very economical, it's a great savings, it's one turnkey solution. We have our Miami Minds team, Clem Galindo is somewhere here with me. We're doing the exhibition together. We have a team in our head office in Miami to support all the Minds Group needs. We have our sales BDM in the respective countries, like I come from Singapore, so I have my team to look after our client. May you be a direct corporate client, or a MICE planner, or a DMC, or an event planner. We hold your hands, listen to your needs, and recommend the right ship and the right venues for your onboard arrangement. So onboard the ship, you don't have to worry how to feed them, how to entertain them. We do a lot of customization just for your groups, so we can extend complimentary usage of our MICE venues. We have meeting and conference rooms on board. We have a theater that can hold up to 1,400 guests, depending on the ship. For Spectrum, it can take 1,300, which is great for plenary sessions. And we have, like on Icon, we have over 22 F&B outlets. And out of this 22, 12 are complimentary and inclusive in your package. So you will never get bored. We have amazing, even programs and onboard facilities such as bumper car rides, ice skating rink. And the ice shows, in times when we don't have the ice shows, you can use even our ice skating rink for your presentation or whatever event, or even a cocktail event if you like. So there are lots of value adds for MICE groups. And we can also do like dinner arrangements for your entire group, regardless of the size, to put you guys together so you can dine together, which is a very big requirement for, I know, a lot of MICE companies. And we have specialty dining rooms that you can do specialty buyouts and stuff like that. So like I mentioned earlier, like in Icon, we have 8 neighborhoods. You can even do a private event in one of the neighborhoods, which I think is very special. And we do customization for shore excursions, for example. Like we do offer shore excursions, but if your MICE group wants to go to a specific area or things that they like to do, we have our head office, we have a shore X team that does all this, shore excursion, and we'll be happy to do a customization for you. Other forms of customizations would be the company's logo on the menu, company logo on your daily program sheet, so everything can be customized. Tom, you have something, show them. He went on one of our cruises and yeah, Tom will tell you more.
I have to say that we're biased towards Royal Caribbean. They're a great cruise line, and they really treat you very special. You might laugh at this, but this, to me, is one of the best gifts I've ever got. And it has the Royal Caribbean logo on it. It's a scarf. And I'll tell you what, I'm not used to the humidity here in Bangkok. But so I'll wear this around my neck when I go out, and it catches the sweat or keeps me cool. So little things like that. And I'm really talking about the little things that make a cruise special. We've had the pillows in our cabins embroidered with the names of the guests or the logo of 3M or Apple. I'm sorry, I'm talking about. So
You just revealed the company.
they're going to fire me now. So the things that you can do that are special, that go above and beyond, really make the experience of a cruise that much more special. And Royal Caribbean does a beautiful job. So
Thank you.
Thank you for going above and beyond. By the way, just one other thing. What Mona was talking about with regard to customization of land excursions, they do that all the time. And we have had groups that said, well, we want to see the Maya ruins in Mexico, or we want to see a tour of the Goya Church in Barcelona, and they help put that together. They have the expertise for that. So I'm a big fan, not just of Royal Caribbean, but the other cruise lines that have the expertise to make our jobs easier as buyers and planners.
I think it's a good point about your experience with the shore excursions, because you guys have a network of ground handlers and also the DMCs to work with.
Absolutely, yes. We do a lot, like Tom says, globally. It's not just Asia, but if they want to have a special dining in an old ancient church, we can arrange that. So it really depends on what the group wants. And truly, I think, the cruise is an excellent idea. It's got so much value adds, like we mentioned earlier. And it's the most important thing is it's so easy for the organizer and the delegation. It's so exciting. I mean, if you're going to have a conference on board a ship, everyone gets excited because it's unique, it's different. It's a destination that brings you to other destination, and you don't waste time with that logistics, remember? You can have your meeting, you can have your cocktail events while we take you to the other destination. So a lot of beauty in cruising, and it's really a logistic nightmare away for the organizers. Yeah.
I have a question for Tom and also for Frankie as well, but maybe Tom can go first. Is it necessary to charter the entire ship?
No. Over the years, I think the past 22 years that we have engaged or contracted with cruise ships, the only cruise ship that we have ever did a buyout was Paul Gauguin around the Tahiti and Society Islands. But that's because the Paul Gauguin's a small ship. I think they have 150 cabins. But I wish we could do a buyout of your new one, the Icon, but that's a heck of a lot of people for us to put on a cruise ship.
No, actually,
So no, it's not necessary, right?
but we do a lot of charters globally, yeah. So our 3-nighters, the short 3-nighters, 4-nighters, 5-nighters are perfect. And we've done a lot of charters actually, yes.
For a single company.
For a single company, yes. It can be, there are various forms of charter. We have direct MICE charters, for example, like maybe 3M or even Apple, I'm just saying names, but we do have corporate direct charters, and we have another type of charters that's called resale charter, whereby a travel agency would want to charter a 3-nighter or 4-nighter, for example, out of Singapore, and they resell it into the market. But a lot of times what they do is they combine extra activities, or they hire a celebrity on board to have that pull factor so that people would go on for a purpose and enjoy furthermore, just not the cruise, but of course like a celebrity or a special event. I think Dinah, on the video earlier, she did a livescape music festival on board out of Singapore. I remembered her very well. And it was an amazing thing. And we have people coming from all over the world because they have more than 10 international top DJs to spin the music. And my colleague who went on board, she said, I need to wear earplugs because they were blasting music, but everyone had a great time for the 3 nights.
I think a full ship charter is necessary.
Well, my answer is the same as Tom, no, but it depends again to which corporate company that you're willing to do. If size, if you're willing to do for the charter, why not? The answer is why not? The cruise ship still can give us whatever we need according to the size. But the thing is, when we charter flight, of course, there are lots of benefits that we can do right now as a social media, branding, and branding for the direct selling company is very important right now. They need showcase for their own marketing. So I think in terms of the charter flight, yes, I think depending on the size, whenever they do the charter flight, I think the way for the brandings and marketing and the ship will be easier if we are not charter. I think with charter, I think Mona absolutely can do anything that we want to do.
Because the entire ship belongs to the
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to break for a moment to see whether there are any questions from the audience. I see one happy hand there. Hi. Would you like to get a mic?
Yeah, good morning everyone. Cruise, the MICE tourism in the cruise is good thing. But what happened in the cruise, you have so many entertaining options. So how to focus, the attendees focus on the meeting and the conference? That's become a major challenge. Because so many entertainments, nightlife and everything in the cruise. So people did not turn up. So how to focus the attendees engagement in the meeting? Thank you.
Can I get your name first?
My name is Amresh Tiwari, Meeting and Incentive at India.
Okay. So Tom, you want to handle that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do meetings in Las Vegas as well, and Las Vegas is a terrible distraction because you have entertainment, gambling. There's a lot going on. And on a cruise ship, there's a lot going on too. But I think if you structure your meeting to have your programs in the morning, okay, give them free time in the afternoon for the excursions, that has pretty much solved the problem for us. The second point that I'll make is your program is greatly condensed, so you really have substance with a incentive. Your speakers are topic related, or your breakout sessions are very specific, and they don't go on all day. It's in the morning. People really appreciate the fact that from 8 or 8:30 to noon, they have the conference, and then the afternoon is open for tours or beach activities on the private island. And that's how we've managed it, and it's been successful. It's a good question.
Yeah, good question. And I think it also reflects the work-life balance too, right? You don't want to go for a conference of 8 to 6 p.m., for example. Yeah. Okay, is there another question? Okay, hi, I got can you put up your hand for a while? Yeah, okay, the runner is coming to you.
Hi, good morning. Are you planning to have a route to the Gulf, from the Far East to the Gulf?
Is there a sailing from Asia to the Gulf?
We do, whenever we have a new deployment in Singapore and the ships usually come from Europe or US, they make their way through the Middle East before coming to Singapore. But you see many cruise days because of the vast ocean path without land. But yes, we do it from Dubai to Singapore, but that's only when we have a redeployment to Singapore.
No, my question is other way around.
From Singapore to Middle East? Unfortunately, we don't at the moment, but you never know, maybe in the years to come, it's something to consider.
Thank you.
Tom, would you know about other cruise lines that do that routing?
Yeah, I'm not aware. We've never done cruises in Southeast Asia. As I mentioned, the closest we've come is Tahiti and Society Islands in the French Polynesian. So what we're looking to as we build our client base here. But the answer is do a buyout. That Royal Caribbean will give you a ship anywhere if you do a charter or buyout.
Okay, there's another one, just right in front here. The runner is coming to you.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Kishore, I'm from NOB Inc. I've got just one question for Mona, if you don't mind. I've been on your cruise before, so my question to you will be this. So when we do our dinings, I do know that there's traditional dining at 5:15 and at 8 o'clock. So if we want a specific dining, say for example at say 7 o'clock, would you guys cater to it, or do we need to stick to your ship timings? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That is always a very popular question among our MICE groups. How we run our dining is at the main dining, it takes about, at any one time, on board Spectrum of the Seas, it takes about 1,745 guests, at one seating. And as you explained, there are two main seatings, one at 5:15 on board Spectrum, and the second seating is at 8 o'clock. The thing about groups is that we are happy to do an arrangement according to those timings. But we have other guests that we need to think about, right? They paid for their cruise, the free individual travelers. So unfortunately, we need to stick to 5:15 or 8 o'clock. We have another type of dining option that we call My Time dining. My Time dining is that the individual guest can select the timing that they want to dine. So we do have a certain area of the dining hall that caters to that My Time dining. So yeah.
As a follow-up to that question, if you don't mind. So the My Time dining, I realize that the queue is really huge, really long at some point of time whereby it's probably very, I guess people are hungry at that same time, so you tend to see. So do we get a special pass that we can that the group can go on to that and we put a certain time, or again we have to queue up for it and things like that? Sorry, just one.
Okay, yeah, so for groups actually you don't need to queue up, but it's not practical to do a group dining My Time, because then if you hog up that area for My Time, then the other guests will not have that option of My Time dining. But in the past, I've been with Royal for like 14 years. So in the 14 years of my experience, all of my groups are actually quite happy, So even if they don't take the first seating at 5:15, maybe a bit too early, they can do the 8 o'clock one, do a pre-dinner event or a cocktail. Yeah, and if people really get hungry, they can still go to a windjammer, which you can just walk in anytime and grab a soup or salad first if they like, and before they wait for the 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got one more question in the center. We've got many questions actually. Okay, maybe you can go first since you stood up. Oh, now you stood up as well. Okay, find it out.
Okay, hi everyone. Deep from Travel Potato India. This is for Mona strictly. India is a country of 1.4 billion people, and we have issues also. Why don't you start something from India to Thailand, for example?
Okay, are you saying for a cruise to go out of India to Thailand?
Yes, maybe from Mumbai or Chennai, Bangkok, Singapore.
Yeah, I think India, for one, it's a great cruise market. It's one of our biggest in Asia. Of course, because India has now, I think, I heard, it has overtaken China in terms of population. So congratulations. But yeah, we have a very strong Indian market, not only in spectrum in Singapore, but also in Europe and also as far as Alaska. So we do recognize that. We have thought of doing Indian deployment, embarkation, and coming back, return to India. But for the moment, not now. Maybe, hopefully, in the future, we'll never know. But if there's a good enough reason for us to do so, I'm sure, something to consider seriously.
So is it a technical issue with the government, or is it something which is...
Yeah, I think, even in Asia, a lot of Asian ports we find challenges in, because being an American company, we're we put a lot of priority in security and safety of our guests. So the cruise infrastructure of the cruise terminal has to pass our standard, right? So we've been in talks with the local authorities many times, and it's not so easy because, for them to develop a cruise and, as we grow, hopefully they'll see the importance of tourism receipts for the country, and so for that reason they will develop the cruise better. India, I'm sure it's a similar situation that we have, that when we have a good infrastructure, cruise terminal, then of course then it makes sense for us to, especially when there is a population to support the business. Yes, so these are important factors to consider, I would think so. And like I said, India is a very big cruise market. So yeah, hopefully one day we will be there with you guys.
Thank you.
Hi. I can hear. Try again.
Hi.
Can someone help him, please?
Hello,
Okay, we can hear you now.
I am Anuj Agarwal from Shrikop, India. I have a question for Mona. Do you have a different pricing structure for different nationality markets? Because we have observed for Royal Caribbean, like if we go for a UK market or India market, Middle East, there is some different pricing for even same city.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Another thing about our pricing structure is that we have a dynamic pricing structure. So the trick is the earlier you book, the less costly it would be. And people often tell me that, hey Mona, I'm going, for example, a 4-night cruise to Penang and Phuket, 16 September is a different pricing from 5th October, but it's exactly the same itinerary. So it really depends on demand and supply. So how it works is the lesser cabin that's available, the pricing will be more expensive, even though it's exactly the same itinerary. And when you book your cruise is another price, is another factor that depicts on what pricing you get. So that's why globally, that's how our dynamic pricing system works. And people always get a little bit confused. Why is it so different in, different timing, different countries? And of course, you have to also consider the type of itinerary and the length of the cruise ship. So you have to, really look into all these factors that plays with the pricing. So the trick is book earlier and you get an early bird price.
I have a follow-up with this. In fact, in the same day, there is a different pricing from different Royal Caribbean offices.
Yes, because different allotments been given to some of the travel agencies at a different timing. So that's why they have a different pricing too. But yeah, people do shop around and you're free to do that. So yeah.
The doctor has a question.
Mona, this is Dr. Ishwar Gilada from Mumbai. Having worked with infectious diseases, particularly during COVID, my question is, how do you ensure health of your people? Because if any bug comes there, it can become super bug. We are working on pandemic preparedness and global health security. So how do you ensure all your people who are traveling, they are taken care of health, like HEPA filter to take care of air which is infecting, or that there are a lot of zoonotic diseases coming from animals to human being. So meat eater people can become infection and carry to somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a very good question. As we all survived COVID, and with the virus world that we live in today, unfortunately, COVID did wake a lot of people up, and during COVID, our fleet, Royal Fleet globally was suspended for a while, and Singapore was the first country to get our ship back into the waters, and everyone was watching us. And we were guided by Singapore Tourism Board and our government in Singapore, which I think you all know are very particular and very strict about certain things. So they had to make sure that we had a protocol, the safety and hygiene protocol in place before they even give us the permission to go back into the waters and sail again. So we were so excited that they gave us the permission, and we know we have in place the right protocol that was approved by our government. And we want to make it the safest place to holiday in the midst of COVID. And we have proved that. And we didn't have any major cases. There was one case, but it was a false alarm that someone detected COVID on board. But actually, when they came back and tested, he actually didn't have COVID. But we had to return the ship just to cover, to make sure that it doesn't get spread. But to your question, ever since COVID, our virus protocol is in place. We have a dedicated area on board our ship to contain the guests. We will move them to the room. We'll send food and room service to your room. And we have a clinic on board every one of our ships with doctors and nurses. And we'll visit them every day and to make sure that they're okay. We've got medication and stuff on board to deal with that. So, like, for example, the air conditioning, you were saying, right? Like in aircraft, I'm not sure if it's recycled air in the aircraft, but on board our ships, all our ships, the air is freshly sieved through our air conditioning system, and it's pushed out. So it's never recycled, you always get fresh air. And during COVID, we had a scientist in the US that tested every air conditioning on our ship has 2 layers of sieve. And we've actually used the COVID virus to go through the sieve. And the sieve was so good that it actually sieved out the COVID virus, and we have 2 of that. And the air conditioning in normal land, like in a hotel or any building, like a shopping mall on land, it circulates like every 9 times per hour, something like that. Whereas on a cruise ship, it's 36 times. So it's a lot more. In that sense, it's very safe. So we're also very careful, and we want all our guests to be very safe and very secure in terms of not catching the virus. And of course, during COVID, the cleaning of the ship, especially in major touch points like the elevator buttons and railings and stuff like that, we clean it every hour. And even then, before COVID, we were already like, if you were to go into any of our food outlet, we make sure you wash your hands or you sanitize your hands. Even when you come back from shore excursion, you need to sanitize. We have people stationed there to make sure you sanitize your hands. So everything is in a good place, and everyone is in safe and hygiene is taken care of.
Yeah, there is actually people there. There are people there to make sure you wash your hands before you get into the restaurants.
It will be our pleasure to help you anywhere, pro bono.
Okay, well noted. Thank you.
Before we wrap up the conference, the panel, I've just got one question for both Tom and Frankie. Now, if there's just one thing you think that cruise lines can do better to attract corporate events, what would that one thing be? Frankie, go first.
Well, I did mention before that nowadays, my generation is not millennial, X, Zulu generation. Now, branding showcase is very important, especially from social media. And I was surprised that Bona mentioned just now that Ray already improved with the Tom as well as his face, with the pillows, with everything they're doing on board and including the rooms. Well, I think yes, branding is one of the showcases very important for, I think maybe for any corporate company, direct sale companies have, even in the cruise ship itself.
Okay, and how about you, Tom? What's the one thing they can do better?
Well, I think COVID changed everything in our industry, and certainly in the cruise lines. So sustainability is a big issue now for many planners and buyers. And I think the cruise line industry has stepped up and is being very responsive. Mona mentioned the standards that most cruise lines have for protocols and honoring the sustainability missions of countries and destinations. So that's number one. I think the second thing is showcasing at events like IT&CMA is very important. I think the key for us is getting the word out that cruises are a great deal. They're an adventure, they're an experience. And I think, to your credit, not just Royal Caribbean, but all of your worthy competitors are doing a much better job of being present at NPI, at site, the different meeting planner organizations. So I think you're doing a great job. You just have to keep it up.
You're hoping so AI experience will be in the baby giant icon of the seas. Don't you think that, Tom?
Love to.
All right, thank you so much to all your attention and also to Mona, Tom, and Frankie for your time on this panel.